We are recording.
Okay, it is 6 p.m. on October 15, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting of the Growth Management Oversight Commission to order. In the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N.
Can y'all hear me okay? Commissioner Strong.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's see, where did I leave off? Members of the Growth Management Oversight Commission and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with Executive Order, the public may view this meeting online, but not in council chambers, 276 4th Avenue, Chula Vista, California. The city has launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their homes. You can find the link at e-comment at www.chulavistaca.gov/virtual meetings. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow commissioners time to read the comments that have been received. If you have any difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please email Claudia Ramos at cramos@chulavistaca.gov and the Development Service staff will assist you. Would the secretary please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Alatorre?
Here.
Commissioner Caudillo?
Present.
Commissioner Juarez? Okay. Commissioner Lengyel?
Here.
Commissioner Strong? Commissioner Torres?
Present.
And Chair Hooker?
Here.
Okay.
Okay, the first order of business is the consent calendar and approval of the minutes. Do any commissioners have comments on the have any comments?
Move to approve.
Okay, I heard a motion to approve. May I have a second?
Commissioner Lengyel, I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Torres and a second by Commissioner Lendell to approve the minutes. Can we, Secretary Ramos, can we have a roll call?
Yes. So Commissioner Alatorre, how do you vote?
I approve.
Okay. Commissioner Caudillo?
Aye.
Commissioner Lengyel?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Strong?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Chair Hooker?
Aye.
Thank you.
The September 17, 2020 minutes have passed with unanimous vote. Public comments. The public comments section on the agenda for members of the public to address the board on items that are not listed in the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh your screen to ensure you see the comments. Okay, the commenting period for public comments is now closed. I did not see any comments. Can you confirm that, Ms. Ramos?
Yes, I did not receive any comments either. And before we move on to the next agenda item, Kim, do you want to introduce Maria?
I would be happy to. I'd like to introduce Maria Kachanorian, who is our new city manager, and she's kindly come tonight to introduce herself and make a few comments.
Thank you. Can you hear me before I start? Okay, great. So I just want to say hi to everyone. Last time I came before the GMOC, I was the assistant city manager. I was promoted in June after Gary Halbert retired. So I was given this great opportunity to take on the lead with the city, which is a challenging time. As we can all see now that we're sitting here having a meeting virtually. Yeah, told me a year ago that this is where I would be professionally, and this is where we would be in the city and in the world. Who would have known, right? But the city continues to move forward. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about me, although I think I know most of you already from having been with the city now for almost 23 years. So as I said, I was assistant city manager for about 4 years, and then I was a deputy city manager. But the majority of the time with the city has been when I was serving as a director of finance. So I was director of finance during the Great Recession, and that brought on a lot of challenges. A lot of you were engaged even back then in the challenges that we had with the housing market tanking and all the layoffs that we had to experience. And the good thing that came out of those really bad years were some really good policies on reserves and financial management. So we really took the opportunity to bring forward some items to the city council that really put the city in a good position to manage through the current crisis. Not that we knew that this would be the next crisis. We always assumed a recession would hit and, we have a drop in sales tax, but no one really expected to see a pandemic and then the economy just completely shut down. So fortunately, we had built up the reserves. We had met the targeted 15% reserve levels in 2019. So when we got hit with this crisis, we were able to just continue operating and not have to go into layoffs or negotiations with the bargaining groups, although we did shut down the libraries and rec centers for safety purposes. As a result of that, we did let go of some hourly employees, which many of them we're bringing back because we have some funding from the state and federal government to help us with our CARES activities. So, with all that, we just expected that we're going to end up dipping into the reserves until we got to the point where we had a better feel for where we were headed. Because obviously, and this is what I communicated to Gary and the staff, we built up those reserves over 10 years through conservative budgeting practices. So you don't go through 10 years of telling the bargaining groups, we're trying to build our reserves for a rainy day. Well, it was pouring rain when the economy, hit the wall. So we definitely said, no, this is the time when we actually have to hit the reserves, and we have to, minimize the impacts to the employees because there were so many people getting laid off. It was just a really tough time. So we made that call and we brought forward a budget to the council and said, we really don't know where we're headed. But now that we're into the current year, because we were able to get funding from the state and the federal government, we actually have some one-time monies that may have avoided impacting the reserves for the prior fiscal year. We're still trying to figure out where the economy is headed in the current fiscal year, but we're in a better position than we thought we would be. So that's good news, because obviously we want to be able to continue providing the services to the community that they so desperately need during these times. So as a new city manager, even though I'm not new to the city, I've never dealt with a pandemic. So our focus and my focus has been to try to do everything we can to help the community and everyone who lives in our city to try to keep people safe. I mean, it's really as basic as that. We want to keep people safe. So over the last several months, we have been working jointly within every department to make sure that we're providing information to the community to make sure that we're all doing what we can to stay safe. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we just started doing is we're partnering with the County of San Diego, and we opened up our own testing site, and we're the only city who is doing that. And so we thought we needed more options for people in the South Bay. particularly with the hours that were being offered. We wanted to fill that gap of having testing sites available on Sundays and in the evenings. And so we're seeing about 300 people a day coming through that. So it's very popular. People come in on Sundays, they have their cars full with their families. They all get tested together. So, and that's exactly what we want to see is people get tested to see if they're infected. And if they are, they need to stay home so we can prevent the spread of this really horrible disease. So we're also been working very hard in economic development, giving out grants based on the state funding that we received. So we've been able to issue about $1.3 million to about 254 small businesses, because the heart of our community is really mom and pop stores. We have about 95% of our businesses in Chula Vista are small businesses. So we put a lot of effort in trying to make sure that we do what we can for them, because as you see, we don't know how long this is going to be going on for. So we're doing everything possible. Spending a lot more time on communication. You see a lot more on the social media. We've been engaging in the Spanish media as well. I've done some Spanish interviews on the radio. I have another one on Monday, because we want to make sure that we're connecting with the entire community in terms of what we need to do to keep moving forward. But all the things I've talked about in terms of dealing with COVID, all the work that we were doing before continues. So our staff have stepped up above and beyond the call of duty. They're continuing to work on all the projects that you've been hearing about over the last few years. And on top of that, they're stepping up to help us deal with the COVID crisis. So we couldn't be where we're at today without the dedication of our staff. And I'm very proud to call them, our employees and our service providers in our city. So a lot going on, as I mentioned. I know usually when I meet with this group, they have a lot of questions regarding the Bayfront. That continues to move forward. We have a lot of attorneys working on a lot of documents that we hope to bring forward for council consideration next month. So we have a lot of behind the scenes work happening there. So I'll stop talking and open it up to questions, because I could be here all night, but I do want to thank you for continuing to commit to serving on the GMOC, particularly during these really difficult times. Staying engaged is really important. And anything you can communicate back to us in terms of anything else we should be doing that we're not, we certainly are open to hearing what you have to say about that. So I'll open it up to questions right now.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Any commissioners have questions? I think that is a first.
Wow. Okay, no, I know there's some questions out there. Okay. This group is not shy, so, but, again, I will come back. I know you have a lot of meetings left with a lot of the departments, and I'm certainly happy to come back and provide you some updates as we see the city continue to move forward.
Hey, Dwayne?
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry, I was just having a little technical difficulties. I couldn't get to the question just a few moments ago. So I got a question regarding the grants. I asked a couple questions at the last meeting. Maybe some of this might be a little redundancy, but can you tell me exactly how much money has been given out to the local businesses again?
So it was about 1.3 million that was just given through the city grant program, but there's also some funding that was provided through the city of San Diego. We had some joint funding with them. I think that was about 200,000 or so. So I would say it's probably rounding up about $1.6 million if you look at the different sources.
Mm-hmm. And those from the state of California or the federal government?
That was primarily federal funding coming through the state and the county.
Okay. And then how many total businesses does that represent that received money?
For the grant, I was just referring to the 1.3 million. It was about 245 small businesses.
Okay. So here's what I was kind of getting at. So and all of our small businesses are different sizes, of course. So is there a cap on the amount that they can receive? And what is it based on? Not criteria of qualifying, but about how much they received. Is it based on total revenues, or what is it based on? So in the end, when you grant a business money, what is the determining factor of how much they're going to receive? Yeah,
so there's actually a calculation that was done. So first of all, you have to be a small business with 10 employees or less. And based on the average rental, they did a calculation per square footage to determine what the amount should be per business. So there's actually a calculation that was done to determine how much should be received.
Okay, so they incorporated maybe their monthly expenditures and so forth.
It was primarily gauged on rent because it was really trying to help businesses, help with their rental cost.
Okay, so it had they had the payroll protection program. So okay, that's fine. I just wanted to kind of, just expand on my question.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maria, I do have one question. So now that you've got into your reserves and, the pandemic kind of has no end in sight, how do you feel from a financial aspect that when will how long can you go based on the city?
So because we received CARES funding, there's actually a chance we didn't end up needing to hit the reserves. And that's what we're looking at right now. We're actually in the process of closing the books from the prior fiscal year. And the audit will start next week. But based on just very preliminary projections at this point, it doesn't appear that we actually are going to end up hitting the reserves because we have those one-time funds. The key is they're one-time funds. So the challenge is, okay, that's great because that means we still have those funds if we need them going forward. But we're trying to get a handle on is, where's the economy going to land, over the next couple of years? And what projections should we be including as we're developing our budgets going into next year? So it does provide us a little bit of breathing room, the fact that we may not have utilized our reserves, but we are continuing to be conservative and we continue to provide council with updates on the economic situation. But other things that are starting to happen is we're starting to see we may have our first cannabis delivery store opening up. So we're anticipating that those revenues will start coming in. And the other thing that we're looking at, which I'm sure our finance director will present when he has a chance to come to you, we're looking at issuing pension obligation bonds to try to find a way to reduce the impacts of the continuing increases of our pension costs going forward. So we're looking at those different things to try to provide some stability to the budget going forward. So there's a lot of factors that are playing into where we're going to be a year or two from now.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is Commissioner Torres. Can I say something?
Sure.
Well, first, I just want to offer a belated congratulations to Maria on her appointment as city manager and just say it was well deserved. And but I do have a question. Is on the cannabis industry, because this is something that's been on my mind. So finally, you guys approved one cannabis applicant, okay, and basically retailer. I wanted to know, is there any prospective cannabis company who you guys are looking at as approving as a manufacturer of cannabis? Have you guys identified anybody as of yet, or are you simply focusing on the retailers?
No, we have a list of about, and don't quote me on this because I don't have it in front of me, but there's about 30 different businesses between retail, delivery, manufacturing, cultivation. So there's different categories of the cannabis business that we're looking at currently that are in the process of review. Okay,
so on the manufacturing cultivation, that you do have some in the pipeline that you're reviewing?
We do.
And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm on the planning commission. Is there a potential that one of those businesses may be coming before the planning commission in the year ahead?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look at where they're at in terms of, a lot of it depends on where they're going to be situated. Mm-hmm. And changes from a zoning standpoint, but I can get that to you. I don't think I have the list in front of me, but it's quite an extensive list of different types of businesses. I can give you a summary of the different types of businesses that we're looking at that are in the pipeline.
Okay, sounds good. Anyway, congratulations, Maria.
Thank you.
Maria, this is
what's going on. Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Strong. Congratulations on your appointment. Well,
thank you.
So did I hear you correctly that you were in the process of bringing back some of the staff that were furloughed?
We actually didn't furlough. Oh, well, we furloughed hourly staff. So because when we back in March when we shut down, we had hourly employees that normally we hired during the summer seasons and during especially hourly. So the hourly employees we did let go right, about a month or two into the pandemic. But because we got CARES money, federal funding, and we started getting food distribution, and we started doing like the testing at the library, we are actually being able to bring back some of those hourly employees.
Got it. Understood. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations on being able to having to dip into your reserves. That is absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. But even if we dip into it, it won't be anywhere near where we thought we might hit. So it's really good news. And, one of the things that I was concerned about is, we saw what was happening in other cities where they went right to cuts and right to pay cuts. And it was devastating to watch. So I'm glad we just decided not to do that and just kind of hold the line. And I think at the end of the day, it was a really good decision. Now going forward, we have to kind of monitor it because we really don't know where everything's going to land going forward. But I do expect that at some point, hopefully we'll get some more CARES monies, because one of the things that I like to do is expand our partnerships with other agencies in the city, like the school districts, to see if we can help them with testing or help them deal with the challenges that they're having.
Absolutely. I think that's brilliant. I'm excited to hear about your partnership with the county too. That's great.
Yeah, we're very happy about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne, I have a question as well.
Go ahead.
Okay, hi, Commissioner Cadillo. I just wanted to follow up on a quick question, a topic you just brought up as far as the pensions with the city. I mean, so important to the health department to kind of get that in order. What is just real quick, what is the projection of the savings to the city if they go the route of the pension obligation bonds? Do you have any of those numbers?
I don't have them in front of me, but we can certainly, and I'll ask David to make sure he provides that. A lot of it would depend on, do we go and get authority to refinance the entire unfunded liability, or do we just do a portion of it? So that a lot of that would depend on what size of the bond issuance we feel we should move forward with, and where the market is with the interest rates at that point in time. But it could be significant. But one of the things that we want to make sure that we're going to do is those savings that are going to be generated by going out and doing a bond, we want to create a pension trust fund to account and manage the pension cost when CalPERS doesn't meet their investment returns. We expect that we're going to continue seeing costs go up.
Right.
Additional unfunded liabilities going forward, and we want to be prepared to be able to smooth out the impacts of those to protect our public services.
Right, because the total pension obligation now is like what, 360.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Yeah, to do the whole thing, right?
Yeah. So the idea is to try to come in and refinance it at substantially lower rates,
right?
And see what the savings is going to be. Because right now we're what, like $2 million a month, asking us to carry that.
Yeah, the monthly amount I don't know off the top of my head, but it's about 15% of the budget, so it's pretty significant.
Yeah, because I read an article. I thought it was about 25 million per year.
Yeah.
I thought. So I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah.
How outdated or current that is. So when will they have those numbers? Do you know?
Yeah. So right now we're working on bringing forward. What we want to do is have the conversation around how we're going to manage the POB savings. So we want to bring forth the policies to the council for consideration. So we can discuss the establishment of the trust fund and the reserves that we want to see get created. Again, for those years where CalPERS isn't going to meet their 7% rate of return, we want to assume they're not, and make sure that the council and the public knows that even though you might see monies in terms of savings from a budget standpoint, they're not really available because we're going to need them going forward. And so we want to have those conversations in terms of the policies and setting up the trust fund, and then come back probably in January with the actual financing documents that lays out what the size of the bond issuance will be, the interest rate, and all that.
Right. So we're looking at this not really transpiring until probably late 2021.
Yeah. No, it'll be early 2021.
Oh, early 2021.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there is one.
What was that?
The bond offering, you think will happen in 2021 or early
Yes.
2021, I should say?
Early 2021.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I'd just like to say thank you, Maria, for taking the time to meet with us. And as you know, the commission is going through a comprehensive review of the whole growth management ordinance. And so we'll be keeping you up to speed on where they're headed with that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure I'll be back.
Thanks, Maria.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the presentation of the Healthy Chula Vista Advisory Commission and the Commission on Aging.
And if I could just mention that, as you know, in our new quality of life topics, we have health and wellness as an important factor in quality of life. So Kim and I went to the Chula Vista, what's it called? Healthy Chula Vista Commission. And last couple weeks ago, and introduced what we're doing at GMOC. And so Stacey offered, along with her board chair, to come back and share what they discussed. It was a very robust conversation, and I think they were excited to play a role in the update.
Yes, thank you, Kim, very much. So my name is Stacey Kurtz. I'm a senior project coordinator in development services, and I oversee the healthy and the age-friendly initiatives for the city of Chula Vista. And I've been in that role for about 5 years now, along with some other things that I do at the city. You can go to the next slide. With me tonight is Dr. Alan Rodriguez, who is our current chair. He is a newer member of our commission, but he's been in the Chula Vista community for several years now as a resident at the Scripps program at Chula Vista Medical Center, and now he is a physician there at the Medical Plaza on 3rd Avenue. So we're really excited to have him on board with us. So, and I first met Alan as a resident. He came forward with Dr. Serpis, if any of you are familiar with her from Scripps, and was looking for some community-based projects to do during his residency. So I've known him for several years as well. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what Healthy and Age-Friendly Chula Vista is. I only am the staff liaison for the Healthy Chula Vista Advisory Commission. The Commission on Aging is a separate commission that's run through our Recreation Department, but we do meet jointly with them, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. So the Healthy Chula Vista Action Plan was adopted back in 2016. And that developed about 66 strategies in all the 7 categories that you can see on the screen to identify ways that we could promote wellness through policies, programs, and partnerships in our community. And so we've been working over the past 5 years now to implement some of those strategies. So everything from recent vaping ordinances that we took forward to council back in February, to other smoking prohibitions, vending policy at the city, as well as a lot of community partnerships we've been working on over the years. If you want to take a look at our plan, it is available at the website link that's identified on the screen. Shortly after that, we first went out and got a commission together that could provide advisory recommendations to City Council and oversee the Healthy Chula Vista Action Plan, as well as provide council guidance on public health issues. So our Healthy Chula Vista Commission consists of 9 members. There's 5 experts. They can be in any one of those 7 focus areas that you see on the plan cover. And then there's 4 representatives, 1 from each council district. And quite honestly, they often tend to be experts as well. And if they're not just experts in their community and their neighborhood, they have other experience related to the plan as well. So after that was established in 2016, we were also approached by AARP and the San Diego Foundation, and they came forward asking us if we would be interested in joining the Age-Friendly Communities Network, which is administered here in the United States by AARP, but is a World Health Organization designation, so it's worldwide. We were the 99th jurisdiction to join here in the United States. There's well over 300 jurisdictions that have joined now. We did so at the same time as the County of San Diego. Since then, several other local jurisdictions, including the City of San Diego, La Mesa, Carlsbad is looking to join now, National City, have all also joined the network. And the goal really is to try to get everybody in the county to join so that we can be a county-wide age-friendly initiative. So we adopted 2 years after that, in 2018, we adopted an age-friendly action plan, which identifies even more goals, but with a real focus on livability for all ages. So while we focus on seniors and a lot of our outreach was focused on that, the goal was really to create a plan that created wellness for people and livability for people throughout all generations. So we worked closely with children and high school students and families and seniors during that planning process. And so that's really where we are today. We're in the middle of implementing our age-friendly plan. Right now, we're looking at some grant opportunities around senior shuttles in Northwest Chula Vista and doing a variety of other things in that regard. So we're really excited about some of the things that are happening. And with that, as Kim mentioned, they came last week and presented to our commission, and our chair, Dr. Rodriguez, is going to go ahead and go over some of the things that we talked about as it relates to quality of life and public health. So Claudia, if you can go to the next slide.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Rodriguez. As Stacey said, I'm a medical doctor, a family medicine resident at Scripps Mercy Hospital, Chula Vista, and a physician at San Diego Health. The new chair of the Health Advisory Commission for the Ms. Vandy, and we had a that could maybe give a snapshot of how the community is doing. Some things we thought of was, are people having their basic needs met, which we put into the categories of housing, medication, and food security. Other metrics would be the most common and other health conditions of interest by our committee, which you can see on the screen: obesity, diabetes, cancer, asthma, Alzheimer's, and mental health in general. We talk about a lot common behaviors that lead to the four most common diseases that result in more than 50% of mortality in the United States, and trying to think about how how our commission can work with your commission in the future. As she mentioned, we have 7 areas of focus under the Healthy Chula Action Plan that I think really dovetail nicely with the projects you're working on. And I look forward to opportunities to collaborate with all of you on the work serving our community going forward. I think there's another slide as well. Other things we talked about were social determinants of health, looking at access and equity issues. So probably just in line with the way your commission looks at growth management. Is there access to grocery stores, healthcare, parks, green spaces, fresh air? And under healthcare, we talked about the need for emergency services, especially ER beds. There's only a couple hospitals in our community, and thinking about the number of hospital beds and ER beds is important. I can tell you from the hospital I work at, we often work at or over capacity and have to be on bypass, sending patients in need to other hospitals. Also important to this is who has access to specialists. Are there specialists who are working in our community? Does every patient identify a medical home, meaning a primary care physician, and support services that they can reasonably access? And then, of course, metrics that are commonly measured in communities are those behaviors that we mentioned on the previous slide: physical activity, diet, smoking, drugs, alcohol. So, you know, I think there's a lot of different metrics we could look at to give us a snapshot of what the community is doing. And some thoughts that we had was maybe to categorize these different metrics by neighborhood, but also think about those certain health conditions by age. And so that we'd have data that shows, okay, how are the kids doing, as well as the adults and the elderly, see what we can do as a community and from a growth management perspective to prevent unhealthy outcomes and to reverse whatever unhealthy trends there are, and to try to ensure that children do better than their parents, get jobs, afford to live here, but really people of any age, any generation continue to do well throughout the spectrum. There's a lot of good resources out there, and I wasn't totally sure which your committee is going to be looking at for these metrics. I think Stacey might be going over the next slide. Or I can do it, I don't know.
If you'd like to continue, you're fine. But yeah, we did talk a little bit about the fact that health equity is a huge topic. And so looking at a community as a whole, but it's also important to look at a community as parts to see where there's gaps in service and issues that may be impacting one segment of the community more than another when it comes to health outcomes. So we talked about that quite a bit. And then we just provided some places where you can go to find some of this data. There's certainly more. But one of the things that we have to be careful with health data is sometimes it lags for a year or two before you can get comprehensive data sets. So that's just something that I would caution as we move forward. So for instance, I think 2017 is the latest data that the county has right now for hospital information, but it's very comprehensive with diagnoses and ER admissions related to mental health and all the different chronic diseases that Ellen previously mentioned. So you can go ahead and move to the next slide. And I think that's really it. We're happy to talk about it further with you. Obviously, that's why we're here for today. My contact information is there, and certainly if you're interested in talking to Alan further, you can contact me and I can put you in touch with him as well. But
Definitely.
The overall goal of Healthy and Age-Friendly Chula Vista is trying to get not just city staff, but our whole community to really use a lens of age and public health in their work. And so we can start doing that more. And I see it at the city all the time now with staff reaching out to me about different issues. And it really puts it into perspective as we age ourselves. And so it's great if we can get people as they start entering careers and start moving here into the city to really look at that lens in everything that they're doing. So with that, we're happy to have further discussion. Oh, Alan, go ahead.
Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to add was a great resource when talking about the 500 cities project. This is about the 500 largest cities in the United States. There is a website called healthlandscape.org, and you can create a free account on there. You can search for Chula Vista under maps.healthlandscape.org, and it has the same map that was shown on the slide before of the city of Chula Vista broken down into different regions. And you can select for any unhealthy behavior, health outcomes that there's data on. And there's, yeah, more than 10 categories on those, everything from mental health, physical health, dental health, strokes, etc., and prevention, like who has health insurance, who had a visit to the doctor in the last year, and a lot of like the preventative health stuff that we look at, like who's been screened for mammograms, pap smears, colonoscopies, etc. And yeah, happy to answer any questions if possible.
Okay, Stacey and Alan, thanks for your presentation. Very informative. Any commissioner to have comments or questions? Okay, if not, I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow for public comments on any final comments on the item before the commissioners. As a reminder, please refresh your view on the screen as new comments would appear. The commenting period for this item is now closed. I did not see any comments. Can you verify that for me, Ms. Ramos?
I did not receive any comments via email, or did I see any comments in the e-comments?
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, discussion of the comprehensive review schedule. Kimberly, all yours.
Thank you. And thank you, Alan and Stacey. Really appreciate it. What we will do as staff is have more discussions with them on how to actually create metrics, but they gave us some great ideas. So Kim and I worked on a schedule to show you exactly how we're thinking this whole thing is going to roll out. So if Claudia, let's see, if you go to the top, okay, so we're in October. Next week, we will have a presentation on the city's smart city efforts. And we have that as one of our topics. Yeah. This is the one where we talked about innovation, transparency, and connected city. So we'll be hearing from one of the managers on that next week. And before I go further, I'm going to have Kim give an update on where we are with the FY20 report.
Good evening, everyone. Questionnaires have been distributed to the various department heads and agencies that pertain to the threshold topics. We've asked them to have them completed by next week, at which time I will review everything and summarize them into a report, which I will present to you on November 5th. So we're moving along. Once that report is given in November, I will work on drafting the annual report and present the first draft to you in December, and we hope to finalize that at the second meeting in December. And during that time, we'll still have comprehensive review topics at the meetings, and some of those topics are still to be determined, but we have narrowed down essentially what those topics should be and who would be invited. And Kim can go into more detail about that.
Great, thank you, Kim. So so as Kim said, we'll continue to have these subject matter experts attend and share information with you all. And then we will do that for 2 meetings in January. And then the joint meeting is scheduled for the January 28th with the GMOC Plan Commission City Council. And that will be to present the FY 2020 annual report. So in February, we'll continue with the experts. And in between meetings, Kim and I will continue to go to commissions and gather information and their thoughts and ideas on thresholds, metrics, and topics that we should be looking at. Then we're hoping in March, probably take 2 meetings to present the draft metrics for your review. And then scroll down. In April, we'd like to have a draft ordinance in front of you. On April Fool's Day, that's not good. And then get your input and come back on the 15th with still a draft, but revised ordinance. We figure at that point, we should probably include some more stakeholders. And then will present the final ordinance to you, final draft, at the May 18th meeting. And then to Planning Commission in June, City Council July, and then because it's an ordinance, there has to be a second reading. So clearly I was way too optimistic when I first came on board, but we've spent a lot of time trying to think about the workload and all the things that we want to do to give you a good updated ordinance. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Kimberly. For the commissioners, I had a conversation with Kim and Kimberly, basically to try to lay out what this plan was, and really it was to give you guys a look forward of what the next 6-7 months would look like for meetings. You know, after the meeting with the Planning Commission and the City Council, we usually have a break between the next session, and as you can see, this year in 21, there doesn't seem to be a break, and but I think we make good progress, and I think this makes sense. But I wanted to see, you know, how we got through the worksheets all the way to the draft ordinance, and getting it in front of the City Council for approval. So with that, I'll just open up comments to anybody that has comments or questions with regard to the schedule.
Well, this is Commissioner Torres. Are these hard dates or soft dates?
Soft dates, completely soft dates.
So the hard dates are from now to the end of the year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll let us know sometime in December when the dates will be hardened, if you will?
Right. So we scheduled, since you meet the first and third Thursday, we looked at the calendar and scheduled meetings on those dates. But yes, depending on how the work processes, there might be some changes to the schedule. But I would say yes, through December, that would be.
And also the joint meeting, we're quite certain will be on the 20th of January.
So if we get done in, next summer, then we'll be in time to start preparing the FY21, which will be based on the new ordinance.
Planning perspective, we could assume between now and January would be the hard dates. Then everything after January would depend on the workload and how you guys get everything done, right?
Yes.
This is Commissioner Lengel. I'm just going to note that the schedule looks very reasonable to me. Thanks everyone for my time to put together.
Well, thanks you all for your commitment to this. I know you don't normally meet this many times a year, but hopefully next year we can get back to that program where you had a fairly long break after the report was adopted.
Okay, does anybody have any other comments or questions before we go to the 2-minute pause? Okay, so I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow for public to submit any final comments on the item. As a reminder, please refresh your screen to ensure any new comments. The commenting period for this item is now closed. I did not see any comments. Can you verify that, Ms. Ramos?
Yeah, I did not receive anything via email either.
Okay. So I'll move on to other business. Any staff comments?
I do not have any.
I just wanted to let Commissioner Cadillo know that there is a response being drafted that you should get next week to your December 2019 email.
Okay, great. That was one question. Thank you.
Yeah, we apologize for the delay in that. And last meeting, you all talked about possibly changing the time of the meeting, or we suggested if that was something you wanted to do. I don't know if you still wanted to pursue that or not. Kim did some research and found out how to go about that, but I think we heard that one person couldn't make it at 5 or 5:30.
I'm open to whatever is consensus, so I'm easy.
Okay.
Well, this is Commissioner Torres. If the meeting, the GMOC meeting on October the 29th is changed to 5, I may not be able to make that meeting, just that one meeting, because I'm a site manager for the Register of Voter polling station. So we're conducting training, and I'm going to be super busy between now and election day. So just that one meeting, I won't be able to make a 5 o'clock meeting, but after that, I should be good.
Okay.
Okay. So does anybody have any strong feelings not to move it to 5?
I have a question. Can somebody just reiterate why we were changing it? I mean, I know there was different reasons, but what was the reason why we were going to change it to 5?
It was just a suggestion that since we're doing it remotely and a lot of people are working at home, that it may be more convenient, but it was just a suggestion.
Yeah, well, my only concern, I wasn't really against it. It says on the minutes that I voted no. I only asked a question, so that was actually incorrect on the minutes. But my question is the same, is, about people, I don't know, people will be driving at that time as well. So, I mean, I don't know, now's the time for all commissioners to speak up, I guess, but that was my only concern, is if people were struggling for a 6 o'clock meeting, how is it going to be at 5?
This is Commissioner Strong. I actually was driving here today during this meeting, so it's perfectly fine to me. We can I can make it work regardless if it's at 5 or if it's at 6, unless I can't get out of work at a certain time, but it should be fine for me.
And staff has no opinion one way or another.
Now, wasn't staff going to check into a few things, and that's why we tabled it?
Yes, and Kim can respond.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, one of the commissioners definitely said he couldn't make it for 5 o'clock. And when we checked with the clerk's office, a resolution does have to be done if you're going to permanently change it. There's the possibility of just advertising the meetings as a special meeting if it's done at 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. Because the idea would be that perhaps if these remote meetings discontinue, several months from now, going back to the regular schedule of 6 o'clock, we wouldn't want to have to change the ordinance again. So.
Or have it at 6 o'clock or 5:30 or 6, and there's no, we just have to call it a special meeting, and there's nothing we need to do officially then.
Yeah, we're still waiting for confirmation from the clerk's office, but we got our secretaries are pretty up on a lot of the policies and procedures, and that's the basic direction that we received.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I mean, since there's so many a few hoops to have to jump through to change this meeting time. I mean, unless it's overwhelming by the commission, I say just leave it at 6. I mean, the time, that's just my opinion. I'm not, it doesn't seem like anybody's strongly against or for this. So I would say just leave it at 6, but that's my opinion.
Like I said, I'm open, if 6 works for everybody and that's good, I'm fine with that too.
Okay, then at this point, shall we just table this, or?
I think let's just leave it at 6 for now, and if once you get confirmation or whatever else you need, we can discuss it again. But what I'm hearing is the consensus is it's open, and I think 6 works for most everybody. That way, Commissioner Strong doesn't need to drive to do it or something like that. So I'd recommend we just keep it at 6 for now.
Okay.
Okay. Any other staff comments?
That's all I had.
Okay. I have no comments myself. Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions?
Yes, I have one comment, Chair. So Ms. Elliott, I have a question regarding the responses to my email back in 2019. So are you going to go ahead and send that to all commissioners, or how are you going to disseminate that information to us?
The city attorney is drafting a memo.
Okay.
So I don't know how it's going to be distributed, but I believe it's addressed to you.
Just to me or to the commission, or
to you?
Oh, okay. All righty.
So will we be, since we saw his questions, will the rest of the commission get to see the response, or would he need to share that, or how does that work?
I will ask Mr. Shirey.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make one thing clear. When I asked those questions, I was really asking, I wasn't asking personally, I was asking as a commissioner for the commission to have that information. So I would hope that all commissioners would receive this information. That was the intent.
I was going to say the same thing. I think we've discussed it enough within committee that, at least I would like to know the answers too. So
I will bring that back to the city attorney.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have comments or questions? Okay, it is 7:03 p.m. and I'm adjourning this meeting. The next meeting will be on October 29th, 2020 at 6 p.m. In council chambers or via WebEx, whichever comes first. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.